Think they let El Chapo get out of his penitentiary to go see about his knee? No.
Jay-Z is sharing a new statement after the civil case accusing him and Sean Diddy Combs of raping a teenager was dismissed.
Big breaking news tonight. For the first time in the history of New York City, a sitting mayor has been indicted for crimes.
A former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs speaking out in the new interview with new allegations about wild parties and drug use.
They are going to be watching basically for hours on end in front of people.
Every one of those headlines arriving within weeks of each other tells you something about the velocity of this situation. The Jay-Z civil case dismissed. A sitting New York City mayor indicted for the first time in the city's history. An audio leak allegedly from inside federal detention. Witness tampering allegations confirmed by prosecutors. A midnight hospital run that the entire internet started asking questions about the moment it became public. Each individual development would be significant on its own. Together, they form a picture of a case that is moving in multiple directions, simultaneously and generating more questions than the official record is currently answering.
Think I wasn't gonna get at you from the inside?
He has reached out to a witness, an alleged participant in multiple freak-offs.
Then why Oprah staying quiet? Why Ellen moving to another country?
And he's asking people to intimidate witnesses or pay people off.
Don't be shocked if nobody show up to testify. Don't contact me anymore, Puff. I already got that Houston lawyer breathing down my neck over that 13-year-old girl. If you don't want things to get worse for you, then you need to start answering my son's phone call.
The defendant's goal is to blackmail victims and witnesses either into silence or providing testimony helpful to his defense.
New York is having a problem with leaks in this Diddy case, with alleged video of the court hearings already on the internet and leaked phone calls where he's calling witnesses. Things are getting out of control and you won't believe what he says on these calls. Recently, the DA released that Diddy was contacting witnesses from jail and they were saying this is the reason that he shouldn't get bail. He was using other inmates' phone calls to three-way people who would then call the witnesses, and that's who he spoke to over the phone. Also, in a weird turn of events, the DA who brought these charges against Diddy is suddenly resigning from his position during the biggest case of his career, and that is strange. So let's break down this insane phone call that we found online. Legal disclaimer, people, I'm just a guy that reacts to stuff I find on the internet. So as of right now, everything is rumors, gossip, or opinions of others. Everything in this video is just a...
The leaked audio, alleged, unconfirmed, spreading across social media before any official verification, is operating in the exact same space that everything else in this case occupies. A space where the official narrative and the street narrative are running parallel tracks, and the distance between them keeps generating speculation that fills every available platform. The claim that Diddy told his son weeks before the hospital visit that he had one final trick up his sleeve and that he was going to get out, placed against the timeline of the midnight MRI run and the subsequent Jay-Z case dismissal, is the kind of sequence that people trying to connect dots will point at regardless of whether the connection is real or manufactured. And in a media environment that rewards engagement over verification, the question of whether the audio is authentic almost becomes secondary to the question of what it implies if it is.
They let El Chapo get out of his penitentiary to go see about his knee? No. He had to dig an underground tunnel and leave on a motorcycle to get out of there. So why is Diddy getting raced out in the cover of darkness, we keep hearing? Why does he get the cover of darkness? Why does he get taken out because he needs an aspirin? Help me, Dr. Hendricks.
Well, I'll tell you, each inmate gets a physical within 14 days of their arrival at any facility. And I'm sure, based on reports of him having several knee surgeries throughout the years after being a marathoner back in 2003, so this may have been in the works in terms of getting him out for an MRI, because I know that they don't have that equipment at the institution. And I'll just tell you this, they probably had set this appointment up months, maybe weeks ago, and they set it up for the evening.
To leave at 1 a.m. in the cover of darkness? Okay, you think that's what they set up, Hendricks? Look, I know you're being loyal to MDC, but can we get real? Leaving MDC because your knee hurts? Have you seen that POC?
Jay-Z is sharing a new statement after the civil case accusing him and Sean Diddy Combs of raping a teenager was dismissed. The woman who filed the lawsuit back in October accusing Jay-Z, whose real name is Sean Carter, and Combs of raping her after an awards show in 2000 when she was 13 years old. Both Carter and Combs have denied any wrongdoing. According to a new court filing, the case was dismissed yesterday after the accuser's withdrawal. In a new statement shared through Rock Nation, Jay-Z wrote that the claim hurt his family and loved ones, writing, quote, "I would not wish this experience on anyone." Adding, the frivolous, fictitious, and appalling allegations have been dismissed. This civil suit was without merit and never going.
The Jay-Z civil case dismissal and Jay-Z's statement through Rock Nation represent the most significant legal development directly attached to his name in this entire saga. The accuser's withdrawal ending the case. The statement calling the allegations frivolous, fictitious, and appalling. The line about not wishing the experience on anyone. And the signature, Sean Carter rather than Jay-Z, a choice that places the personal weight of the statement on the man rather than the brand. Jay-Z has denied all wrongdoing throughout this process, and no criminal charges have been brought against him. That distinction matters legally and needs to be stated clearly. What the dismissal doesn't do is close the broader conversation that the Epstein file references and the proximity questions have opened. Legal outcomes settle legal questions. They don't necessarily settle the narratives that have been running in parallel alongside them.
Just leaked and it was posted by Social Details. This is allegedly a call that he had, and there's a lot of talk, a lot of code words in there, so we're gonna listen to it together. Check it out.
Do not entertain none of this nonsense and nothing over the phone. I'm gonna need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes. The what? All the boxes left over.
Now, this alleged leaked call from Diddy in prison was talking about getting rid of pizza boxes. Now, if you know your stuff and you're privy, you know exactly what pizza stands for, and that's probably what they're talking about and referring to on this alleged leaked call. Pizza, for those who don't know, I'm gonna make it very clean. It has to do with children and selling.
Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about.
Now, in this alleged phone call, he starts talking about someone named Jay. People are speculating that maybe Jay-Z, but there's no confirmation. At the same time, he talks about recycling plastic. I don't know what that could mean. If you guys have any idea, comment and let me know.
Everybody out there quiet as Yeah, exactly. We gonna let them have their little fun, but I'm still gonna have the last laugh.
I mean, it seems by the call that he's looking for help. He's saying that a lot of people are quiet, I guess people that are on his side, and that he's gonna have the last laugh at the end.
Man, just do what I told you to do, and don't forget about the list.
And then he goes on to say, don't forget about the list. And we don't know what that list is or what that implies, but this is pretty crazy. Do I think this is legitimate? There is no confirmation yet if this is legitimate or not, but this is the alleged leak call.
The pizza box conversation, unverified, alleged, circulating across platforms without confirmation, is the kind of coded language claim that the internet treats as evidence because it requires the audience to supply the interpretation. The host being careful to note this is unconfirmed, while simultaneously laying out what the code allegedly means, is the media ecosystem operating exactly as it operates around everything in this case. Real footage and alleged audio occupy adjacent spaces in the public consciousness, and the distinction between them gets blurred in comment sections and group chats where both get processed as part of the same larger story. Whether the leaked call is genuine is a question that only verified forensic analysis can answer. Whether it's going to keep circulating and being cited regardless of that answer is already settled.
Details this morning in the sex case against Sean Diddy Combs. Prosecutors now claiming that from behind bars, Combs has been trying to reach out to victims and possible witnesses. And ABC's Phil Lipoff is here now with this story. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Gio. Diddy's lawyers trying for a third time to get him out on bail, but this time, the prosecution telling the judge about attempts they say the rap mogul made from behind bars to influence everyone from potential jury to alleged victims. This morning, prosecutors leveling new accusations against Sean Diddy Combs, saying he poses a serious risk of danger even from behind bars as he awaits trial. In a court filing late Friday, prosecutors detailing the steps they say Combs is taking while locked up to reach out to prospective witnesses and influence public opinion to affect potential jurors.
The accusations within the prosecution's motion to deny bail are very serious and will be considered very heavily by the judge, because the judge is going to want to ensure that he is not influencing witnesses and or contacting anyone to influence a trial in any way.
Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges of racketeering, transportation to engage in prostitution, and sex trafficking. He denies any wrongdoing. The government now asking a judge not to grant Combs' third request for bail, in which the music mogul offers a $50 million bail package citing new evidence and changed.
Prosecutors confirming that Diddy was contacting witnesses from inside MDC, using other inmates' phone accounts to three-way calls through to people he wasn't supposed to be reaching, is not alleged. That's in the court filing that was used to argue against his third bail request, the DA describing him as a serious risk of danger even from behind bars. The specific mechanics of how the contact was allegedly happening, not through his own monitored lines, but through a layered chain of calls designed to obscure the origin. That's the behavior of someone who understands exactly how phone monitoring in federal detention works and is trying to navigate around it. And that behavior, documented and presented to a judge, is what makes the question of how a man considered dangerous enough to deny bail repeatedly was taken out of that facility at 1 a.m. for an MRI. A question that doesn't have an obvious answer in the public record.
On a new lawsuit, a Texas man is claiming Jay-Z's lawyers are bribing people to sue Busby and his law firm. This 13-page lawsuit was filed on January 3rd in Harris County, Texas, and the plaintiff in the filing is being represented by none other than Busby's law firm, who filed the suit on his behalf. Now, Jose Maldonado, who is the plaintiff in this suit, is suing Jay-Z's attorneys and his company, Rock Nation, but not Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z himself. According to the lawsuit, the defendants in this suit are Marcy Bryan Croft, her law firm MJ Legal, Rock Nation, and the law firm who is representing Jay-Z, Quinn Emanuel Urquhart and Sullivan. They allege the defendants conspired to obstruct justice by engaging in shadowy operatives to illegally get more than 24 current and former clients of Busby law firm to turn around and sue them. The suit claims Rock Nation is financing this alleged effort, while attorneys Marcy Croft and the law firm Quinn Emanuel are orchestrating this whole thing. According to the suit, the defendants' agents were pretending to work for the state of Texas and allegedly flashed fake badges.
If he was a part of that, how did he get the key to the city? That's crazy to me. If he was in incidents and everything around the city that wasn't favorable, how he get key to the city? So now you got to realize, if they had the mayor under investigation since 2014, Diddy was in investigation around 2011, 9 or 11, something like that. They say he's 9 or 11. One of those people are responsible for the feds looking out after one, or either Diddy responsible, his interaction with the mayor, or the mayor interaction with Diddy may have caused the feds to be looking at both of them in some form or fashion. I don't know which one was first. Was it Diddy interaction with the mayor, or the mayor interaction with Diddy? Which one did the Fed have under surveillance first? And I think it was probably...
The Texas lawsuit alleging that Jay-Z's legal operation deployed people posing as state officials with fake badges to approach former clients of Busby's law firm, Rock Nation allegedly financing the effort, while Quinn Emanuel orchestrates it, is the counter-narrative that Jay-Z's camp would most forcefully dispute. And the structure of the suit itself is notable. The plaintiff is represented by Busby's own firm, filing against Jay-Z's attorneys and Rock Nation, but not against Jay-Z personally. Whether that structure reflects a genuine legal strategy or the limits of what can actually be alleged in a credible filing is a question the courts will eventually have to sort through. What it represents in the public conversation in the meantime is a counter-move, a claim that the dismissal of the original case wasn't the clean victory it appeared to be on the surface, but rather the product of the kind of institutional pressure that only a certain level of wealth and legal infrastructure can deploy.
Big breaking news tonight. For the first time in the history of New York City, a sitting mayor has been indicted for crimes. ABC News reporting that Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury. We do not know yet the exact charges. Federal authorities have been investigating Adams and members of his staff, issuing subpoenas for documents and cell phones. Several members of administration have resigned, some of them also friends of Mayor Adams. Again, Eric Adams, the 110th mayor of New York, has been indicted by a federal grand jury. We'll have the latest online and tonight on Eyewitness News at 11.
New at 5, the legal troubles continue for Sean Diddy Combs tonight after a judge ordered the music mogul to pay $100 million to a Michigan man who says that he was sexually assaulted by Combs in '97.
According to court documents, Derek Cardello Smith says Combs drugged and then assaulted him during an after party at a Holiday Inn in Detroit. But Combs never responded to the lawsuit in court. On Monday, the judge ordered him to pay $10 million each month starting in October. The victim is currently behind bars serving a 75-year prison sentence for criminal sexual conduct.
Eric Adams being indicted as the sitting mayor of New York City, the first time in the city's history, in a period of time closely overlapping with the Diddy. Prosecution is the detail that the people drawing the widest possible picture keep returning to. The question of whether the federal investigation into Diddy and the federal investigation into Adams were ever looking at the same spaces, the same relationships, the same events, is a question that the public record doesn't currently answer. What exists is the documented fact of Diddy receiving the key to the city from the mayor's office, the optics of that ceremony now carrying a different weight than it did when it happened. And the observation that two people who were publicly connected were facing serious federal legal consequences in overlapping windows generates exactly the kind of speculation that doesn't require proof to spread.
Happened at these lavish, drug-fueled nights called Wild King Nights. So this 32-page lawsuit, which was reviewed by multiple outlets, including Rolling Stone, was apparently filed in Los Angeles by a man named Philip Pines, who says he worked for Diddy from 2019 to 2021. So actually more recent than some other suits we've seen against Sean Combs that have been in the early 2000s or even the 90s. But according to reporting in the suit, Pines is alleging a few different things here. Now, before we even get into it, and there is a lot to get into, you might be wondering, what the heck does that name mean? What are we talking about when we said Wild King Nights? Well, part of this lawsuit alleges that Pines had to prove his loyalty to Sean Combs, who was dubbed the King, by performing sex acts for him, hence the name Wild King Nights. The suit even reportedly says that Pines was treated, quote, like an animal playing fetch in order to prove his loyalty.
The $100 million default judgment. In the Michigan case, a man alleging assault at a 1997 Holiday Inn party, Diddy never responding to the lawsuit in court, the judge ordering payment of $10 million per month beginning in October, is a legal outcome that happened almost entirely out of the spotlight because the criminal trial is consuming so much attention. Default judgments in civil cases occur when a defendant fails to respond to a lawsuit. They don't require a trial, and they don't constitute a finding of guilt in the criminal sense. What they do represent is a pattern. The number of civil actions that have proceeded in various forms without substantive legal engagement from Diddy's side, either because of the criminal case strategy or because of the sheer volume of claims. That tells its own story about the scope of what's being alleged across different venues and different time periods.
Former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs speaking out in a new interview with new allegations about wild parties and drug use. Eva Pilgrim is here with the story. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, Michael. At this point, we've all probably heard about these infamous parties. Diddy's assistant now giving us details about what he says were called Wild King Nights.
This morning, new details allegedly inside Diddy's world before his shocking arrest. The entertainment mogul now behind bars for federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges.
It was a circus. He did whatever he wanted. And we were just at his disposal.
Phil Pines was Diddy's senior executive assistant from 2019 to 2021. He says his then boss asked him to purchase supplies for parties dubbed Wild King Nights.
We usually had a laundry list of items that included lights, alcohol, marijuana, ketamine, Molly. Those requests started to become more frequent.
Pines claims many of these parties involved younger women.
A lot of times you would have him with a younger female. And there's a power dynamic there. A more impressionable girl is easier to reel in. Consent is between the people that are engaging, and I wasn't there in these situations to understand.
Philip Pines, describing Wild King Nights from his position as senior executive assistant from 2019 to 2021, adds a layer of recency to the allegations that matters for the prosecution's narrative. Earlier allegations from the 90s and early 2000s face statute of limitations complications that make prosecution harder regardless of their credibility. Testimony from someone who worked directly for Diddy within the last 5 years of his arrest, describing specific events with specific details, is a different evidentiary category entirely. The loyalty tests described in the filing, the procurement of supplies, the power dynamic between employer and employee in an environment where the employer allegedly had the ability to make or destroy careers. These are the kinds of allegations that federal prosecutors in a RICO framework are specifically structured to evaluate in terms of pattern and enterprise, rather than isolated incidents.
Combs sues NBC for $100 million over its Peacock documentary about him. According to docs obtained by E! News February 12th, the Bad Boy Records founder filed a lawsuit against NBC Universal seeking $100 million after Peacock, the streaming service owned by the media company, released the documentary Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy. In the filing, Combs, who is currently in jail on sex trafficking and racketeering charges, accuses NBC Universal of defamation and alleged that the company maliciously and recklessly broadcast the documentary, which included claims that the rapper committed crimes like serial murder and sexual assault of minors without having a shred of evidence. The filing reads, in making and broadcasting these falsehoods, among others, defendants seek only to capitalize on the public's appetite for scandal without any regard for the truth and at the expense of Mr. Combs' right to a
trial starts and the jury sits. Will they be shown these tapes?
100%.
Will they have to watch it in court? Like during
100% in court in front of a room of people. And so that's the other thing that's awful. They are going to be watching basically porn for hours on end in front of people. So in front of victim one, whoever it may be, there's going to be porno played in the federal courtroom.
And victim one would have been made aware of this.
Oh, 100%. She's probably being told right now, like, this is going to be played in open court. Your sex history, your sex life is going to be talked about in open court. All of this.
And presumably then she knows that and she's pushing forward because she hasn't withdrawn.
But don't forget this. It doesn't matter if she does or she doesn't. This isn't a civil case. This is the criminal case. So she could flat out tell the federal government, I don't want to participate. And they can say, we don't care. This is a crime. Crimes are against the United States, not against them. Keep calling her victim one, but don't forget, she's a witness to a crime. So it doesn't matter if she went to them in today and said, I'm not participating. Their response, we don't care.
Diddy suing NBC for $100 million over the Peacock documentary, while himself facing federal criminal charges, is the most aggressive public countermove his legal team has made outside the courtroom. The legal standard for defamation involving a public figure requires proving actual malice, that the defendant knew the information was false or acted with reckless disregard for its truth. In a case where federal prosecutors are preparing to show freak-off tapes to a jury in open court, where multiple witnesses have agreed to testify, where the evidentiary record includes documented assaults captured on hotel surveillance, the defamation argument faces structural challenges that a $100 million filing doesn't resolve. What the lawsuit does accomplish is what 50 Cent explicitly cited as the reason for delaying his own documentary, creating legal risk for anyone producing content about the situation while the criminal case is active. That's leverage, and in this specific situation, leverage is what almost every move is actually about.
I know a lot of people that know him. I met one of his old security guards, and I've been to the tea about him. Weird shit, liking strap-ons. I met this girl one time that did a photo shoot for him. It's a nice young lady from Canada. And me and her ended up going on vacation together. And a few months later, And she told me something that she saw go down at his house in the Hamptons. And then a few months later, she told me that she went hanging out with like his bodyguard and his entourage, and somebody drugged her and she doesn't know what happened. So none of this is alarming. And then she went back to Canada. So.
And how long ago was this? Was this in the 90s?
This was in the 2000s. Maybe like around 2004, 2006, somewhere around there. He's been
seeing was people fucking each other, kissing each other, getting sucked, getting ate. I seen all that. That's typical though. So I don't understand how freak offs can be a crime when everybody just gonna be fucking on each other anyway. A bunch of rich people snorting coke and fucking on each other and drunk. If that's a freak off, then I like to go back to it. I like to go back to a freak off. I like fucking celebrity business, and that's the fun thing about the freak offs. In my time when I was there, it was like celebrities was fucking each other. Like all the movie stars and all the actresses was fucking like it was nothing. They was on that powder heavy, but they was fucking. Hey, how you doing? What's down with you? Oh yeah. That's how I was. So I liked the freak offs. So I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping, but it was fun to me when I was young and I was there. It was fun to me. I was a kid in a candy store, looking at all these actresses that you grow up watching. You hear them in these sucking dick and fucking and doing powder and all types of wild food.
The freak-off tape question is where the trial becomes most uncomfortable for everyone involved, regardless of their position on the underlying allegations. Because prosecutors confirming the tapes will be shown to the jury means that people who were recorded, allegedly in some cases without full understanding of the circumstances, are going to have their most private moments displayed in a federal courtroom. The legal framing of victim one as a witness to a crime rather than a complainant who can choose not to participate, that's not a prosecutorial threat. That's how federal criminal cases actually work. The government is prosecuting crimes against the United States, and witness participation isn't voluntary once prosecutors decide testimony is essential to proving their case. That dynamic places an enormous additional burden on the people already carrying the weight of what allegedly happened to them, and the fact that they're moving forward anyway tells you something about what those people believe they experienced.
Sean Combs asked the judge in his federal case to throw out one of the charges. He says he's being targeted because he's a black man and the charge is rooted in racism. I look at Combs' argument and his chances of success. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Sean Diddy Combs wants one of the counts in his federal superseding indictment thrown out. Combs argues he's basically being singled out by federal prosecutors because of his race and his success in business. The charge he wants the judge to toss is count 3.
But the conditions of the prison are far from homey, notoriously described as, quote, dreadful, as one judge put it. Some on the bench have even moved away from sending nonviolent defendants there. In April, a group of detainees that prosecutors said were MS-13 gang members in court documents stabbed an inmate 44 times in an attack caught on camera. 2 shivs were recovered from the attack. You see them here. The victim survived. And in the last 3 years alone, 4 inmates have died by suicide. And violence is not the only issue. Accusations of medical neglect, staffing shortages, smuggling of drugs, some allegedly facilitated by employees. At least 6 staff members charged with crimes in the last 5 years, according to the AP. Some accused of accepting bribes and providing contraband.
You know, no jail or prison is expected to be a 5-star hotel. We know that. But it's not supposed to be a house of horrors either.
Yeah, the troubled and violent Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn housing Sean Diddy Combs raided by the feds today. They're investigating poor conditions, rampant drug smuggling, mounting violence, and repeated inmate deaths.
Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles live at the scene in Sunset Park with what's really going on. Darla.
Well, Bill, the Bureau of Prisons will only say this is an interagency operation to maintain a safe environment. But sources tell ABC News that inmates are not the target, and attorneys who've been seeing clients here for years say the timing is very curious.
Put some bars of soap in a sock and boom, they're going to pop him over the head and split his head open like a watermelon. They cannot GP him at all. There's a better chance of Jesus appearing in front of us right now than him making general population. He's safe where he is at. There's no reason to move him. And this nonsense about him getting bail, they're never going to give him bail. He wants to go to Essex County, New Jersey, to go to a cushy jail there. Remember, he's not a federal inmate. He's a U.S. Marshal detainee. So they just house him at MDC. And in order to send him to Jersey, they would have to transport him back and forth several times a week with like 6 marshals. They put him in one car, and there'd be a car behind him and a car in front of him. They're not going to do that. So his life essentially at this point is just screwed.
It is not getting good reviews. I mean, not that it should, but there should be basic human rights. And this place has faced intense scrutiny amid a spat of vicious inmates, going after each other badly, complaints about dismal living conditions, including maggot-infested food, filthy cells, power outages. Apparently they go weeks without any sort of heat, which is, not good, especially as the cold rears its head. These apparent conditions were brought to the spotlight during the trial of Maxwell. I can't say the full thing, the notorious Madame of Jeffy, when her attorney ripped the facility for the reprehensible and utterly inappropriate facilities. She complained about using the bathroom, which was an open sewer drain, rats running around, rotten maggot-infested food, freezing temperatures for roughly a week when an electrical fire caused all the light and heatings to go out in the building. Apparently, violence-plagued federal lockup made headlines when it was hit with the claims that the staff had allegedly covered up a knifing at one point.
The racial targeting argument as a legal defense, filing motions to dismiss charges on racial bias grounds, is the strategy of a legal team that has exhausted most of the available procedural options and is looking for anything that creates appellate issues or generates public sympathy. For a man facing racketeering, sex trafficking, and prostitution charges with evidence that includes hotel surveillance footage, thousands of documents seized in raids, and multiple cooperating witnesses, the racism argument requires the jury to believe that the substance of the prosecution is fabricated rather than that the prosecution was conducted in a racially discriminatory manner. Those are different claims. One might have legal merit in certain circumstances, the other requires disbelieving the evidence. And the conditions at MDC, maggot-infested food, freezing temperatures, inadequate medical care, violence among inmates, while genuinely concerning from a human rights perspective, represent a separate issue from the legal substance of the charges. People can believe the prison conditions are unacceptable and also believe the evidence of the crimes is credible. Both things can be true simultaneously. And where this case stands right now, with the trial date approaching and the freak-off tapes confirmed for jury presentation, is that the strategies available to Diddy's defense are narrowing, while the public record of what allegedly happened keeps expanding in every direction simultaneously.